All right, I think I got Instagram working for the first time. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm Coach Dennis Stoica with Modern Era Warriors again. Welcome back for another podcast, another amazing guest. Like always, we bring on like-minded people, and I just need to turn on the volume down on my side here, and we'll be good to go. But hey, thanks for being here today. Greatly appreciate you. Today we have Jay Laluz here with me, and Jay is a very special person, especially to me. Got to meet him about a year ago now. And Jay Laluz was born into an Army family at an Army hospital in a horrible place that I live and grow up in, Honolulu, Hawaii. Despite that, he enlisted in the Navy at the age of 17, where he spent his time trying to chase submarines and reading Tom Clancy novels. It was there that he was introduced to firearms and began to think that there might be something to that to pursue. After his honorable discharge from the Navy, Jay worked in information technology with side hobbies in firearms and martial arts, like myself. During this time, he took numerous classes and pursued learning under several instructors. Along the way, he gained certifications in teaching for both firearms and martial arts, like myself as well. He also competed in local, state, and national level shooting competitions. That is not me. An amazing man here is an amazing, amazing shot. The economic downturn, however, caused Jay to change careers, and he turned his hobbies of shooting and getting punched in the face into another career, namely law enforcement. Jay worked for the Metro Transit Police Department for 9 years, not only in patrol function, but also as a firearms instructor for that agency, doing recruit and in-service training, culminating in an assignment as range master to the police academy. Jay also gained certifications as department armorer during this time as well. Jay has coached or instructed civilians, police, military throughout his shooting career on a part-time and full-time basis. This is how I know him as well. He has been the match director for several local ranges and the lead firearms instructor at one of these facilities as well. During his time there, he created or assisted in class lesson plans, as well as advised the owners on related issues that could and would arise. Today, Jay works at the Regional Criminal Justice Academy as the firearms program manager, where he oversees recruit training. He brings to the table over 20 years of firearms instruction, as well as numerous certifications in various firearm disciplines, as well as related police tactics. He continues his firearms and control tactics pursuits by attending numerous classes each year. His belief is that an instructor must continue to be a student to remain relevant, 100%. Jay is also a part-time deputy for a local sheriff's office. His business, Gray Dog LLC, is primarily focused on continuing to instruct people in safe and lawful methods of employing a firearm. Much of the instruction happens directly through individualized lessons, private events, or group classes. When not teaching, Jay is also developing video and other media to combat the sea of bad information regarding firearms and related topics. He has an amazing, amazing YouTube channel and some of the stuff that he puts out. So, hey, there's a lot going on, right? So, and we also haven't been doing this just a couple of years. So, anything else to add? If not, I'm going to ask you to also give the why behind it, the purpose, passion, and principles to it.
First, thank you for the introduction, Dennis. So obviously it shouldn't be a huge surprise to say that my passion is teaching firearms and I enjoy shooting. I'm exceptionally fortunate in that I get to do that as my day job. I know that there's a lot of people who can't put those two together, so I'm exceptionally fortunate in that regard. My biggest reason for doing it in the law enforcement community, I think, kind of came about right when I first started seeing police agencies before I was even a police officer or police recruit. And I saw the ability or lack thereof in a lot of police that I saw come to do qualifications. And it was somewhat disheartening in some cases. And I thought, I could make that better. And so I've been attempting to do that ever since. I also love teaching not cops, but just anybody, like regular people who want to learn. It is a different paradigm altogether. In a lot of cases, not the actual instruction itself, but their mindset and their attitudes. And it's refreshing. I love teaching people who aren't showing up because their boss told them you have to go do this as a condition of employment, but they're like, I just want to learn how to shoot. And that is refreshing.
So that's, and we had this discussion too, and I'm already going to go off of it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So, because I love the question. We have specific questions we always go over, but I never know what you're going to say 100% too, right? So,
yeah,
we're already going to go off a little to the left. I also have an amazing passion to teach, right? And by the way, everyone that's listening, I cannot tell you, it takes a special person to give, and their heart, their feelings come through their teaching. And Jay is an amazing instructor. The wealth of knowledge is amazing. How he demonstrates himself, how he handles himself, how he works with the students, if you will, right? And that doesn't matter whether you have zero experience, very little experience, or 20, 30 years of experience, right? And he's able to work with all those types of persons, right? Prior experiences, zero experiences, law enforcement experiences, just brand new to law enforcement, right? But I know you said it too. Like you'd rather be working. I don't know about rather, but it's easier maybe. I don't know. You can expand upon it a little bit more, right? The person's got to want to be there too, right? To learn and soak it up. If not, it's hard. And sometimes that's hard in law enforcement because, when I talk to marketing people, they're like, hey, you need a niche, right? I'm like, well, I just want to help people that want help, right?
Yeah.
And we can be very specific to law enforcement, but it's also hard to only teach law enforcement because they don't always want to learn. They don't think they have to learn. They have enough. They're good with only shooting one time a year, right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard to turn the people that just don't want more. So I'm gonna ask you a question off the side. How do you do it? How does Jay try to be the coach, the rah-rah to get more people excited or to understand the need to train?
So back to the recruit world, I'm lucky because I'm working with brand new recruits. And now I say brand new recruits, but some of them, show up with a prior career. Mm-hmm. Some of them show up with substantial amounts of law enforcement experience. But for the most part, all those guys are there going through the academy, and they've got to complete all of the portions of the academy to successfully become a law enforcement. So there's some stake in it for them at that point. There's more skin in the game. And typically I'm dealing with people who are maybe a little bit fresher. So my ability to get to them is better. It is easier.
It's easier.
Not easy, but it's easier. What I have found, and by the way, thank you so much for you to say that you thought my instruction was good is substantive, because I think you've probably seen a few instructors.
I have.
But
it's all good.
One thing that I can say for sure is that enthusiasm is contagious.
Yes, it is.
And if you show up and you are enthusiastic about a topic and how you convey it, and you convey it with sincerity, severity when applicable, and in the vein that you are trying to convey it, like, hey, this can save your life and I need you to pay attention. You can hate me later. Pay attention now.
So I got to jump. Hold on.
Yeah,
you do it playfully.
Yeah.
So this is the thing too. When we can learn, it's a very serious topic, right? I mean,
the most serious, yes.
You have 25 people on the line anytime with a handgun. They got another 25 behind them with handguns, right? So, and there are a lot of brand new shooters, right? But you're able to make it playful when we're able to make learning more playful, but also serious at the same time, right?
Yeah.
In an instructive manner, people can learn better.
Yeah.
And so you pull that off.
Thanks. I mean, the thing about guns, shooting guns, it's the most serious thing. Like, the thought that you'll have to use it for real is hopefully very low percentage, right? I don't want anyone to ever get into a gunfight. But if they do end up in a gunfight, I need them to win.
Yeah.
I need them to prevail. And so that's serious. But at the same time, there's a whole aspect of shooting that's fun. Let's shoot bullseyes. Let's shoot for speed. Let's shoot course of fire. Let's shoot a match. Let's compete. That is fun. It is exceptional fun. Hanging out with other shooters, talking trash about guns, all that whole aspect, the social aspect of shooting, the physical aspect of shooting, the Zen aspect of shooting, those things are fun. They can be brilliantly fun. And so I want people to understand that, because if all it is this horrible, torturous thing, this slog,
you're never going to want to do it. Oh, I got firearms again tomorrow. Dang it.
Yes.
Right.
And that's how you build the cop who shoots once a year because they drag him to the range. They suck. There's
or even the
wailing,
person,
crying.
or even the person that has a gun. I've trained people that have bought a gun. They
Yeah.
had it in their house for 12 months, and they're calling me and saying, "Hey, I'd like to learn how to shoot."
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Do you have a gun yet? Do you need a gun? Can we talk about guns? I'm like, yeah, I bought a gun 12 months ago. They
Yeah.
haven't done anything with it yet, right?
That
So,
person's the norm. That's not the exception.
yeah, I know.
That is the United States gun owner right there. And no, I don't want to be pejorative. I want people to exercise their Second Amendment right how they want to, as long as they don't do anything hurtful. And if all they want to do is own a gun, that's cool. There's some guys who are gun collectors. I have these guns. Cool.
Collect
That's
guns.
cool.
Many reasons to own own guns in the United States, right? I am an NRA member, by the way, and one of those reasons could be because I'm a gun collector. Don't even shoot, possibly. Some people do. So let's move on. It's kind of falls into our conversation we've had already, though. But why should someone consider firearms training with a certified instructor or career law enforcement person, or one that might be both, right? Versus a friend or family member? I have many reasons, but
so I don't want to put down or say bad things about learning from your family members or friends, and I've seen people do quite well in that regard. Some people don't want to or have no desire to get involved in a class. It's additional time and money, and for some people it may just be fiscally
not possible,
undoable. But when you go to a pro, somebody with experience, then they know stuff you don't know. And I know that's an oversimplification, but it's the same reason why I pay an accountant to do my taxes. If I need legal advice, I pay a lawyer. I'm not qualified to do those things. Like, I could try and monkey around the internet and Google some stuff, but if you're looking at a firearm as a life-saving skill, then I think you want to fill in those gaps. A professional will not just know how to shoot properly, but they'll know how to convey those concepts. And that's hard. Like, it's the equivalent of if you got somebody standing behind you screaming front sight, don't slap the trigger, and they yelled that 100 times. I didn't learn anything.
What does that mean? What does it mean? I don't understand it. Right. So, so I'll jump in here. Right. So I believe if you're going to an instructor and they're good, they have a proven system, a strategy, how to take you from where you at, which is like 0, to being able to shoot with fundamentals of shooting, to be able to maybe understand now that I know how to shoot. The next piece maybe is like considerations on what to do in my home if I have to protect myself.
Yes.
And then even the next step is if I now choose to carry not in my home, but out and about, what next considerations do I have there? Size of the gun, safety and security, backstops, right? Knowing things, a lot more than now just the fundamentals of shooting, right?
Yeah.
And there's layers to add in when I'm in my home, police response, my family that's there, when I'm out and about, all these types of things to consider too. It's not only just about the firearm too. It's about the environment that we're in as well too. And, sometimes I'll even talk to maybe like, it doesn't need to be biased, but a conversation I remember last having, happened to be a husband saying, "No, my wife doesn't listen to me anyway, so she should go to you and get training." Sometimes, like, it's just whether it's couples or whatever, too, right? It's just maybe easier to you go do, she goes to her spin class over here, I go to do my thing over here. We have date night on Friday night or whatever that might look like, too. So
I'm not going to put anybody on blast, so I won't mention the agency or individual involved, but a guy who runs a TAC team for, let's just say, a relatively big size agency in the area. He sent his wife to me to learn how to shoot. And this guy can shoot. I mean, he's an instructor and a shooter. Like you would do way worse than have him teach you how to shoot. Right. But he's like, it'll be better if it's not me teaching my spouse. Like that.
All right. So what advice do you have for the beginner, a woman, a young adult, police or military? You don't have to hit all those, but do you have any specific advice that would be very important to share?
So, I'm probably going to beat the drum, the same one. Seek competent instruction. If let's say you're just somebody who wants to learn how to shoot, maybe for defensive purposes, not forget police or military, set that aside for now. Then I'd say try and seek competent instruction, and you got to start from the beginning, the ground up. And the problem is that basic courses aren't sexy. A lot of people I want the advanced stuff. I don't need the beginner stuff. I need the advanced stuff. And
So this is the thing too, right? So I have a friend that happens to own a very large, very lucrative company,
yeah,
and they have some pretty advanced courses helping put young people into the service, right?
yeah,
And along with that, they run a bunch of other courses. Anyone can come, and where they're working on firearms, martial arts, like emergency type response for rescue and things of that nature as well, right?
yeah.
I've even helped teach at one of them in the past too. But taking a person, it might be sexy, it might be fun, like shooting out of a helicopter, or learning how to
stuff you're going to use every Friday, basically. So.
yeah, right. You get my point, right?
Yeah.
So they have people doing like one person goes up, the next person goes up, and they're like leapfrogging each other.
Yeah.
This is something a new person doesn't need to learn, right?
That scares me, by the way.
It might be sexy. It might be fun. It might be sexy. It might be fun. But it is. It's also dangerous if you're using live ammo, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I get it. Like I get like wanting to do high speed, cool stuff. I 100% get it. But most people are going to be way better served with a real basic class and then something to build on. So, and that gives them a foundation from which to proceed.
The martial arts. You're a martial artist.
Yeah.
And I'm a martial artist. I tell people I teach self-defense, and secretively, right, you're becoming a martial artist while you're learning self-defense, right?
Yes.
That's your trade craft. So don't tell anyone that you're learning martial arts, but overall, when you come to learn self-defense, you do it for years, you do that, right?
Yes.
The basics in fitness. I can take 20 kettlebell techniques, 20 different things to lift, 20 sandbag techniques, right? 20 different yoga movements, 20 different movements in BJJ, and get really good at them too, right?
Yes.
And we become really good at the basics because they're the building blocks, and firearms is no different.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at boxing at a high level, they're doing 5 or 6 punches.
Yeah.
Like that, that is it. But they're doing it at a very high level.
So what does someone need to do to develop the basics then? I mean, is it gun safety, rules, proper operation of pistols, ammunition knowledge, how to store guns, right? Maintenance of the weapons?
Probably a little bit of everything. But if I was going to start at ground zero, no matter what, if you're a casual individual or you're going to be like, hey, I'm going to go be on the SWAT team or I'm going to be special forces, you've got to learn how to continuously and safely handle, store, and transport any weapon that you own or is issued to you. Like you've got to understand how to operate it safely and operate it safely around others. Because if you can't do those things, you could be a grandmaster level shooter, but if you are completely unsafe with that gun, I don't want to work with you, and nobody else I know wants to work with you either. And if you're just a individual not doing it professionally, you've got an obligation to your family, your friends, your community at large around you and yourself, because there's not unheard of for people to accidentally shoot themselves because they're being careless.
I only teach private, semi-private lessons because I refuse to throw 10, 20 people up on the line. And at some point you do need other people then, right? I mean, you're fortunate to be a head instructor, but each agency is required to have at least one other person, 2 other, maybe depending how many people they have on the line to have with them as well. So you have a second eye on each individual too, right? And so I don't necessarily have that unless I bring a friend in that's also a firearms instructor that I know that's close by too. Also 20+ year career for Border Patrol too. So sometimes we will work with each other a little bit, but it's dangerous. It's hard to watch everybody, right? So,
much like you, when I'm teaching in my private capacity, I teach private or semi-private. Like I will teach like 1 or 2 people. There's numerous reasons for that, but one of them is definitely safety. 2 is that I very much like to find where somebody's at and then move them from there.
Hard to do that when you have 25 people, but you do. But you do. I mean, you see people over a week or 8 days, in the academy, right? And you're able to bring. I mean, I'll throw it out there for my classmates, right? Hopefully we can maybe kind of keep that record. But I know I don't know how you developed it or determined that, but we had like the best scores overall for a very long time. Or
I have not seen the scores like you guys
Yeah.
put up.
Yeah.
Like, and I'll brag on you a bit, but your class, the top 4 shooters all scored hundreds across the board. The top 12 shooters scored a 99.0 or above.
Mm-hmm.
And just to get to below 90%, we had to go down to like, 77th place or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, you guys were brilliant shooters. And
Awesome.
I've never said that before, and I may never say it again, but seriously.
Well, but I tout that on instruction too. I do. So obviously people are the ones that have to do it and perform the instruction that's given, right? But it's from beating us in the head with the sticks that you walked on the line with. So.
I sneak in something for everybody across that 8 days.
Yeah.
Obviously the beginning is a little bit slow, especially for somebody of your caliber who shot a lot, who understands the mechanics.
But that comes back to the basics, though. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a Navy SEAL and you're doing high-speed stuff every day, right? Those guys and gals still have to come back to humbling themselves by doing the most boring whatever and making sure they're concentrating to continue to hone those skills, right? So, all right. So beyond developing basics, let's talk about what does someone need to do then to develop defensive shooting skills, right? Defensive shooting skills. That might be like home safety, responding to a violent confrontation, right? With your firearm.
The big prerequisite there is probably understanding legalities when it comes to the use of lethal force. Understanding that any introduction of a firearm, whether fired or not, is introducing lethal force, that force which is likely to, doesn't have to, but is likely to cause serious bodily injury or death. And that's where I think a lot of people get into trouble, because you can get a carry permit, and I'll branch off and talk about that in just a second, but you can get a carry permit in a lot of states with very little prerequisite. In some states there's none. And back up and say, I don't want anybody to have to pay to exercise their Second Amendment rights. I don't want gatekeeping. I don't want anybody to go, you have to jump through these 20 hurdles where you can't exercise your rights. But if you want to carry a gun to defend yourself and your family
safely,
then I feel like you owe it to yourself and them to get some additional training in that regard, so you can understand where you're standing on the correct side of the law versus, this is going to get me in a lot of trouble, so that you don't put yourself in that position. Because once you're subject to the legal system, even if you're later kicked out on the other end, the process can be the punishment, right? So it can beat you up. So I'd rather you avoid that if at all costs. And sometimes that requires a little bit of extra knowledge.
Yeah. And I lean with having as little regulation as possible too.
Same.
But I also, at the same time, like, look, if you learn how to drive a car when you're in high school, you take a course. Some people, even if they're after high school, learn how to drive, they might get some training from a driver's education type company, right?
Yeah.
Most people don't just get in the car for the first time without an instructor, whether that's a parent or somebody, right? And then just drive a car. So I do believe that you just need some good quality instruction, though, right? Because at the end of the day, it's extremely dangerous. And that comes back to the safety of, my number one thing, Jay, when I teach someone in the first course is I just don't want you to shoot yourself or your family at home when you're handling the gun. Everything else, we're controlled on the range. We can put you up there. We can have the gun on the table. We're watching you. We're at arm's length away, right? But once you take that gun home, and you're forgetting something or haven't had enough repetitions, that's where it can become dangerous. All right. So in addition to defensive shooting skills, now let's talk about what does someone need to do to develop the KSAs, the knowledge, skills, the attitude, right? Essential to avoiding dangerous confrontations, right? Safe, effective, responsible, concealed carry, perhaps, right? Now I know how to shoot. I've taken into legal considerations for defensive shooting, and now I want to kind of carry a little bit, right? So maybe drawing from the holster or purse, knowing what's beyond your target. What's important?
The number one, well, once again, I'm going to say the number one thing is avoiding problems before we even get to that. A problem avoided is a problem you didn't have. If we get all the way down to the point where, yes, you're going to have to actually get that gun out, then yes, we have to be able to draw it safely. And it's very easy, depending on the quality construction or placement of your holster, to do some really bad things there. So you have to make sure you don't shoot yourself on the draw. If you're going to fire, the rounds have to go where you want them to go. You don't shoot at somebody, you don't shoot warning shots. I mean, so really, and it's the same thing with police. Like one of my top priorities is you need to put bullets where you want them to go. If you can draw and get hits, then you can prevail. You know, the opposite of that is that a lot of things get shot that are not the bad guy, and then we have another problem.
Yeah.
So
when I train people, whether it's my Krav Maga, you know, we teach reality-based self-defense, Krav Maga, a little bit of jiu-jitsu and striking as well.
Yeah.
And, I get some of those students over time that want to take the firearms instruction with me as well. And I tell everyone, I don't care whether it's self-defense purposes with physical technique, being able to defend against a gun or a knife or a punch, etc., or carrying a handgun. At the end of the day, I tell the civilians, you might as well be a law enforcement officer, or a law enforcement officer might as well be a civilian when they're not on duty too, right? In the state of Virginia, when you're not working in your county, you have no authority to be a peace officer, right?
None whatsoever.
So, you know, I don't feel that there's much difference unless you're on duty wearing your badge. That's just me.
Agree.
So,
Agree. Yeah, there's some people confuse that. Some cops confuse that, and they want to be the police 24/7. And I'm like, it's a bad idea from any number of standpoints, not the least of which psychologically for you and your family.
Yeah.
Just enjoy your life some.
Yeah. Hypervigilant. You can never.
Yes. Enjoy your life. Have a beer. Go for a walk. Smell some flowers. Like, oh my God. Like, I'll go back to understanding how to recognize problems way before they start, with awareness and some basic behaviors, things like locking your door, watching what's going on around you in a parking lot. Don't be buried in your smartphone.
So this leads a little bit to the next question. So let me throw it out there too. So no, that's all right. So what are your thoughts about those who, you know, believe that they only need to carry a gun, right? It kind of goes along with what you just said too, but it also maybe goes along with, you know, I only need to carry a gun to protect myself, right? And their loved ones, or even law enforcement or military people, right? Again, that believe that versus learning other self-defense or de-escalation type techniques. Because you kind of said don't be there a little bit, right? I mean,
the problem with, if the gun is your only solution, it's not the best solution for most problems.
Nope.
In fact, it's kind of a horrible solution for 99+% of all the problems. But if that's your only resort, then that's your only resort, and that's problematic. I think a lot of people who are in the, this is my gun, this is my talisman, it protects me from all evil, would be better served. I don't say better served, carry your gun, but take a Krav class with you, go for a hike. And I don't want to be pejorative, but get into shape. Get yourself together.
Jay, you know, my business is integrated warrior training. It is all that, right? It's we're creating warriors, and that's reality-based self-defense. It's functional fitness. It's the same thing you just said, being in shape. If I'm in better shape, I will better be able to handle myself. It may be cliche, but you know, strong people are harder to kill. If you're in better shape, you will be harder to defeat, right? In violent confrontation, if it comes to that. You can't protect your family, your friends, your loved ones, your community, your tribe if you're not in shape. And having some knowledge on self-defense, firearms, if you're going to carry it. And I'll even throw out there, I don't think I have a friend that I interviewed on a podcast recently. His business is really growing, and he's all about the self-defense aspect when you're carrying your firearm. It's for civilians, and you're carrying so grappling with a firearm. I know you grapple, so I challenge all my amazing friends that do BJJ. Our crowd is about getting up off the ground in less than 5 seconds. You want to do BJJ and you carry a handgun? Then you should be doing your BJJ, not in a gi, in your clothes, and carry your handgun, and tell your partner to go for your gun, and see how much BJJ you can do.
Is it Paul Sharp? He does a lot of weapons grappling.
Yeah, and no, it's not Paul.
and some of his material, like he puts videos up, like it's a good primer on the grappling entangled with a weapon. The name's escaping me, but it'll come back to me in a second. There's several other instructors who are doing that work.
Love to talk to you more about it. Todd Bosties, who I'm mentioning, he's out in Minnesota. Trained a lot with Greg Nelson and some other folks that
Greg Nelson's legit.
Greg Nelson is legit.
Yes.
Also, Eric Paulson, associated with Eric Paulson and many other people on the West Coast as well too. So awesome. All right, hey, we're kind of up on time, so I get one last question. You're working as the Northern Virginia Criminal Justice Academy right there as the Firearms Program Manager. You've trained civilians, police, military, and have your own firearms and shooting business, right? Grey Dog LLC. What's the future look like for Jay and Grey Dog?
So I started doing Grey Dog as firearms instruction, and it's still there. Like I said, predominantly private instruction. And that's where I'm probably going to keep it. I don't see me doing a lot of open enrollment classes for the same reasons we talked about earlier. What's funny is that I sort of started becoming a content creator. I was going to say media creator. My wife's like, you're not a media creator, you're a content creator. I'm like, I don't know. There's a difference.
Okay. But, is there a difference?
She says there is. So I will bow to her wisdom. But
all right.
I, started doing videos on YouTube to really kind of put out some little instructional snippets that I wanted to do. And it was predominantly just for my own edification. Like I want to put this out in a broader audience. And some of them get almost no views, but occasionally some of them blow up. And I enjoy doing that because I reach kind of a broader audience, although I don't get to pick it. It's whoever stumbles on what I put out there. And so I think I'm going to continue with that. I'm going to continue doing private instruction, I'll put in a plug. I'm on Instagram, Grey Dog LLC, YouTube, Grey Dog LLC. I have a blog that I occasionally even write on, but it's sporadic, and that's greydogllc.com. So you can find me relatively easily, and in any of those venues, you can contact me through those. That's not a problem. Yeah. And I'm Juan Laluz at greydogllc.com. I would love to work with some other people who are interested in private instruction if that's their thing. But if not, and you just want to see my videos, that's where I've got them.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it too. And I love, that's why I like asking this question too, right? To be able to reach a larger audience in some fashion that you're still be able to share your purpose, passion, your principles, your why for is amazing too. And there's no doubt about it. I think creating the content is doing that too. And it also maybe creates the person then that they like what they see, you're doing these things, and then maybe they come and get training too, right? So they want to come and see what you're doing, et cetera. So, hey, awesome. Hey, Jay, thanks for being here. I'm going to ask you to hold on. Everybody, thank you as always for being here for another amazing podcast, again, with like-minded people. Firearms, we didn't even get into Jay, his martial arts experience in his career that we could expand this conversation, say another 30 minutes, and why it's healthy to exercise and eat well and learn some self-defense as well. It doesn't have to be crazy. We don't need to be black belts after 15 years in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, of course, if you want to do something like that, right? But all good. But hey, thanks so much for being here. We greatly appreciate you as always. Until next time, you know the drill, right? Train hard, train smart, train safe, train real, and train for life, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.